Hey guys, so if you follow me on Twitter and if you follow me on Facebook, you'll know that it is BlizzCon weekend and I'm wearing last year's BlizzCon shirt to like celebrate. Um, but day one of BlizzCon has finished and we are on day two. So while I had some time in between panels, I wanted to film a quick video on some of the highlights of day one of BlizzCon. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go through every little detail because they give you a lot of information, but I am going to go through the major highlights of what I saw yesterday and what they announced at BlizzCon for day one. Now, this video will not be going up on day two. This video will probably go up after BlizzCon is over because I don't want to upload while BlizzCon is going on because my internet tends to go on the fritz while I upload videos. But we're going to talk about the highlights of day one, and this is going to be a two-parter video because it's going to be kind of long. I apologize for that. So let's talk about opening ceremonies. Opening ceremony is actually free to watch. So I'm pretty sure you can still go back and watch it. Don't quote me on that though, because I'm not sure. But opening ceremony is free to watch. You do not have to have a virtual ticket for that. So go to worldofwarcraft.com, find out. I'll try to leave a link down below to the Warcraft website because it should have a thing up there about BlizzCon. So you should be able to watch open ceremonies that should be free. But in case they don't have it up and you just want to listen to me talk, let's talk about the highlights of opening ceremony. Opening ceremony was very, very fun. I loved the whole opening ceremonies. So, one of the things they talked about was Heroes of the Storm. So, they've announced that they are adding new hero classes to Heroes of the Storm. And the hero classes that they are adding is Thrall, Jaina, and Lost Vikings, which, if I remember correctly, the Lost Vikings are from their original World of Warcraft games that were not MMOs before it became an MMO. So they've announced that for Heroes of the Storm. Super excited. Can't wait to play this game when it comes out. It's going to be great. So another thing that they announced is that Hearthstone is going to have a new expansion, their very first expansion. Now they don't consider Naxxramas an expansion. They consider it an adventure, but their very first expansion is going to be Goblins versus Gnomes. So exciting. And they've also announced that Hearthstone is going to be coming to Android tablets, which is great for those of us who don't have iPad merchandise. Now, they don't have anything set in the future yet as to when it's coming to phones, but personally, I can't wait for that myself so that I can play it whenever, wherever I want. So that's what they've announced for that. And they went more in depth about that in their panel, and I'll talk about that a little later. Now, they've also announced a new expansion for StarCraft 2. This expansion is called Legacy of the Void, and it's basically going to be about the Protoss. So, the first, when they first released StarCraft 2, it was about the Terrans. Then they released an expansion about the Zergs, and now they're going to release expansion about the Protoss. They even showed you the trailer for this expansion, and it looks amazing. So can't wait for it to come out and try it. It's going to be so much fun. And last but not least, their biggest announcement at BlizzCon this year was that they are releasing a new game. Yes, a new game. And this one is not going to be an MMO style like their World of Warcraft. This is actually going to be a first person shooter game that you can play with other people, but it's going to be different. So the name of this game is called The Overwatch. Well, not The Overwatch, but it's called Overwatch. And they even showed you a trailer for it. It looks so awesome. I am personally not a first person shooter game kind of person, but watching the trailers and watching the panel for this just makes me want to try it. It looks amazing, and I'll get more in depth with that when I talk about their panel. But that was the four major things that they introduced with the opening ceremonies. It was so great. So loved it. So let's go ahead and get into the rest of the activities for the day. They had a Hearthstone tournament for the first time this year, which was actually really amazing. They had this little fireplace going on, and the competitors were actually in the same room that was soundproof from everybody else, and they were sitting in front of a fireplace. It just looked so cozy, so gorgeous. I want a room like that in my house. It was so nice. They also, of course, had their StarCraft 2 tournaments going on. I didn't watch too much of the tournaments. I was too busy paying attention to the panels that they had, because that's like my main focus. I love watching their panels. So the first panel that they announced was the Overwatch panel. And this is where they talked more in depth about the Overwatch game. And they did have a little bit of questionnaires. They couldn't really say too much because of the fact that it hasn't even reached beta yet. But they did show us how some gameplay looked, and it looked amazing. Amazing. And they even showed us where their dev team actually played it and went head to head, and that looked really fun. So they showed us a lot of gameplay with it, and it was just, like I said, I just can't stop saying how amazing this game looks, and I definitely want to try it out, even though I'm not a first person shooter kind of girl. So they also talked more about the different characters and the abilities. I'm not going to go too in depth about each character. They do have a website called playoverwatch.com where they have all the trailers, and you can check out all the characters there. I highly recommend you go check it out. I will leave the link to that down below as well, because like I said, it's awfully amazing. If I could talk, that'd be great. So they also announced that beta for this game will start in 2015. Now, they didn't say when in 2015, and obviously it's going to start as alpha beta, but they did announce that it will start in 2015. So I believe you can sign up for that as well at playoverwatch.com. So make sure you go and you check that out, because you definitely don't want to miss getting an invitation to alpha beta and then getting an invitation to beta later on in the game. So they couldn't talk too much about the game, but these are the highlights of what they did talk about. And like I said, I highly recommend you go check out that website. It's going to be, it looks great. So the next panel they had was for the Warcraft movie, which we all have been waiting for forever now. And they are releasing that in March of 2016. Now, they finished all the filming part. Now it's just all the special effects kind of thing. And they just showed all kinds of information about this movie. They are finally getting us updated on stuff. So they announced more actors and what roles they're going to be playing in the movie. I'm not going to get too in depth on those actors, but trust me, you can find the information online now that they've put it out at BlizzCon. I'm sure somebody is going to be talking about it more in depth than me. Like I said, I'm just going into the highlights of BlizzCon. So they've also showed different armors and weapons that were actually used in the movie. And oh my goodness, this stuff looks amazing. You should have seen it. One of the actors walked out on stage with what looked like Thrall's hammer, and oh my gosh, this thing was like half the size of this actor, and he's probably like 6'3". It just, it was amazing. So they even showed the armor for the Stormwind guards, and uh, it was awesome, just awesome. So they even showed us, which is kind of like a little sneak peek, but they showed us different stilled shots of what the characters looked like finished and the roles they played. They showed us King Lane when with his finished look, and he looked great. And then they showed us Ogrim and his finished look, where he actually looks like, you know, how he's supposed to look, an orc. So so anyway, so they showed that finished look, and you can definitely see the actor's face in their digital copy of it. They even talked about how they use motion cameras, so they put the little dots on the actors' faces so that they could catch every emotion, every look that the actor was giving while acting out that part of all of the orcs. And it just, from what I saw, it looks amazing. Now, obviously, if you got to go to BlizzCon, you got to actually see the like clips of the actual film, which I am super jealous because I couldn't go, but you know, I get to see all the other perks while watching it with a virtual ticket. So they just they look amazing. They even let Blizzard employees go and check out the rough cut of what they're calling it, and they're even astonished by how great it looks. So you know, if Blizzard likes it, then it's definitely going to be right, and it's definitely going to be a very good movie. So can't wait for that to come out. I'm gonna like buy my tickets super early. So the next panel they had was the Hero of Storm panel. Now this panel they didn't really talk about too much new. It was a lot of Q&As, but and they talked more about like their alpha process with it. So they didn't talk too much like with anything new, but you did get to see different environments that you get to play in. They have this awesome city environment that looks absolutely gorgeous, and it looks like it's an Egyptian style, which I love. Anything they pull in Egyptian style, I love it. So they also said that closed beta will begin January 13th, 2015. Now, right now they are in alpha beta, so you're only getting it through, you know, invites, and they're only inviting certain people. You have to be signed up for it, but they are starting the closed beta January 13th, 2015. So make sure if you haven't signed up for beta for Heroes of the Storm that you do that, because when they do closed beta, that's when they start bringing more people in so they can test their servers to make sure it can handle the capacity that it will need to handle before they release it, and any last minute bugs they might have. So it's still going to be majorly awesome. So that was pretty much about the gist of what they talked about with Heroes of the Storm panel. So then we had, you know, the WoW panel right after that, which was something I was definitely looking forward to seeing. And in this one, they talked more about the different buttons and item squishes that they had. They talked about how they had way too many buttons. They just kept increasing the buttons that we were getting for our abilities, you know, with Wrath of Lich King. Then they increased it again with Cataclysm. Then they increased it again with Mop. So they've talked more about why they took more buttons out and the item squish that they did to the game, because they said numbers were getting outrageous, and I can agree with them on that. Having a million health is a little out there for us. They also talked about their reasoning behind the decisions that they made. Now, I'm not going to go too much into depth with this, but they did do a lot of information about, you know, why they did this and why they did this with this. And I think, you know, I think they did a great job. I do like the item squish. I like the fact that they took a lot of buttons away, because now I can actually get rid of action bars that I don't need anymore. So I think this was a very good job. I think they did good with what we're seeing so far before Warlords of Draenor come out, which will be coming out like this week. So happy for that. So they also talked about how much work was put into when you got a new piece of gear. Now, if you've played in MOP like I have, and if you've raided in MOP like I have, then you already know that there's a lot of work involved when you get one new piece of gear. You have to go and you have to gem it. Then you have to reforge it. Then you have to, you know, upgrade it. And then once you upgrade it, you have to do the first two things all over again, which is really crazy. So it's like, what was the point in the first place? But even if you get like a tiered piece where you have to go to the vendor, you have to find that tiered piece that matches your set, because if you don't, you're definitely in trouble, because you're not going to get, you know, that 4 set or that 3 set, you know, bonus, and you definitely need that. So they definitely talked about how they are simplifying that a lot more than what they have in the past. Instead of you having to go to that vendor, you can open that item up right then and there, and only certain pieces are going to have gems. I mean, they took out reforging altogether, which I think was a very smart move. So they're making it easier for us to get new gear and not have to do 20, 30 pieces of processing in order to get that gear where we need it to be, which I think makes a lot of sense, and it'll help simplify getting new gear so that you can put it on right then and there in that raid and instantly get better at what you're doing, whether you're healing, tanking, DPSing, you just instantly get that extra bonus, and I think that's a great thing. So that was the major things they talked about in the World of Warcraft panel. And then they ended yesterday's little festivities with their contest. Let me just say, I love their contest. So they had 4 talent performers this year and 3 videos that was already picked, and they showed us the 3 videos that won the top 3. And the first 2 were like amazing. They had the second one that looked like it was somebody actually running from Zerglings, and then they even took Zergling out of the second expansion for StarCraft 2. They like digitally cut it out and mapped it in, and it looked amazing. It looked real. And then the first one was just, oh, I can't talk enough about how great these videos were. Now, like I said, if you follow me on Twitter, I was tweeting a lot about the talents, and I was very upset with who won the contest for the talent contest. I honestly think it should have been definitely 2 different people who won, but what can you do? Honestly, like I said, I liked the contest, but I think the ones who were the better winners got second and third place when it really should have been like first and second place, because I don't think the one who won did all that great. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion. If you have a different opinion than I do, I welcome anything. If you've watched BlizzCon, I welcome your input. Just, comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. Personally, I just think they chose the wrong winners. And then, of course, they go to the costume contest, the cosplay costume contest. They call it costume contest. It might as well be cosplaying. But they had some really amazing entries. I don't know how these judges picked who won. I mean, because they had some awesome, awesome looking costumes and cosplay. Oh my gosh. And it was just, it was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It's one of those things where it's like you kind of have to watch it to understand. I didn't tweet about like every single cosplay that was going up on stage because they were just shooting them out so fast, and I was just like so in awe with some of them. But I definitely do not envy those judges for having to judge those cosplay costumes, because like I said, they just looked absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I feel bad for the person who won because her cosplay actually broke on her, so she didn't really get the chance to walk out on stage. But they did show a picture, and I tweeted that picture on my Twitter. So I'll make sure to try to find a picture, and I'll leave that in the drop down box below as well for the winner, because she couldn't come out in her full costume when she came out to accept her prize. But her cosplay looked absolutely amazing. I mean, the kind of detail put into it, and it lit up. Oh, it looked awesome. I can definitely see why they chose her to be the winner. And these guys win a lot of money. I mean, she won like $2,500 for winning that cosplay contest. So, I mean, these guys do not do this lightly. They put a lot of work into it. They had a lot of gorgeous cosplays. I think a lot of people did very well with it. And even the guy who did Malfurion, oh my God, he looked awesome. I mean, his feathers, they were like huge. They looked so realistic. So I definitely think he deserved second place with that cosplay contest. Say that 5 times fast. So that about wraps up everything that happened on BlizzCon for day 1. Honestly, if you didn't at least get the virtual ticket, you definitely should. Like I said, there is more videos about more in depth with what's going on, well, what went on the first day at BlizzCon. There is somebody who talks more and more in depth about the different stuff they have. I'll make sure to leave a link to his channel down below. His name is Noble. I think it's like Nobbel87. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. He goes more in depth about the stuff that happened at BlizzCon. I'm just, doing highlights for you guys because they talked about a lot of amazing stuff. A lot of amazing stuff. I mean, this video would be like 2 hours long if I talked about all the amazing stuff that they talked about. So I have another panel that will be coming up soon because, it's day 2 of BlizzCon. We have more panels. I'll film a video probably tomorrow because after watching the concert tonight, it's going to be pretty late. But I'll film the video about today's stuff, about today's highlights tomorrow. And then, like I said, I will probably start uploading them, if not tomorrow, then Monday, so that you guys are still seeing it when it's still new. Also, if you got a BlizzCon virtual ticket, you got access to the BlizzCon store, which I love it. So I had to narrow down a lot of stuff that I got. So once I get that merchandise in, I will definitely be showing you guys what I got from the BlizzCon store. So I'm going to finally let you guys go now. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can see when my second part of this comes out. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed hearing the highlights about BlizzCon and if you like this. Also, make sure to check out all my social medias. They'll be in the drop down box below. Especially make sure to check out my Twitter because, like I said, I was tweeting like crazy during BlizzCon yesterday, and I'm sure I'll be doing the same today. Even though you guys will see it in the past, you'll still see it. So, also, make sure you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.